nervous because I'm here now.
All right. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. And in this video, we're going to explore the possibility of maybe fixing the Ravens' third tight end position with a guy in-house who plays a different position. I saw this on I can't remember which social media I saw it on this morning. Somebody float the idea of possibly moving Miles Boykin from wide receiver over to tight end. Certainly wouldn't be an unprecedented move by the Ravens. They've done this in the past with other big-bodied, fast receivers. Notably, Darren Waller was drafted out of Georgia Tech as a wide receiver at 6'6", 238 pounds. While Boykin may not be that big yet, he'll never get that height, but he might not have that weight on him yet. But he certainly has a body that looks like he could put on some more pounds. So while he's only 6'4", he's 2 inches shorter. He might be able to get to the weight, Jimmy. What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Hearing this initially, I think it sounds cool, right? It sounds entertaining to think about, and sounds like it could work. A couple things come to my mind as far as caveats go. One, and you mentioned this, how long is it going to take to get into the 250 range, at least for weight, right? I mean, that doesn't happen overnight as much as some people like it to. It just doesn't, especially if you're doing it legally and naturally.
Right.
At least as far as the league rules permit. And then the other thing too is, so if he's the third tight end, how much does he get will he get the ball more than if he was the second wide receiver? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't know. I think it sounds cool and it could work, but I don't know for him and his career. I mean, it could end up like Darren Waller, or he could end up being a third tight end, which would be worse than being a second wide receiver. So if I had to pick a side right now, I say I'm against it. I would say stay the course and keep developing as a wide receiver. What's your take?
Well, I guess it's it's interesting. I mean, I can see why they're doing that. They look at Waller, and although he didn't have success as a Raven because of many off the field battles he had to deal with, he turned into one heck of a player as a Raider. And when you combine that height and that weight with that top end speed, it looks similar to what Miles Boykin could project out to be. Now, he'd still have to gain about 30 pounds of weight, which isn't easy, but I think his frame could support that if given enough time. That's the question, though. How much time is he going to need? He's certainly not going to be able to do it this year. So it would be more of a, all right, if he comes out this year and despite the fact that he's given every opportunity and he's got plenty of targets, he just doesn't look like he's getting enough separation, just doesn't look like he can cut it as a wide out, then maybe going into next offseason, I would consider telling him, look, put on some weight. I mean, we just saw Hollywood put out that information. He gained 23 pounds of weight over the offseason.
Yeah, 23 pounds.
So if he can put up 23 pounds on his frame, I'm sure Boykin could do 25 pounds on his frame. I don't think it's unreasonable to think with given an offseason. Now, but that isn't going to do anything for the team this year. I mean, this year they're expecting him to still be a wide receiver. Now, I can see why fans are clamoring for this because we just saw Breeland get waived. Right now on the roster, if you look at their depth chart, they have, while they're strong with Andrews and Boyle up front, after that it's Eli Wolf, an undrafted guy. It's James Scarf, another undrafted guy.
Charles Scarf.
Why do I keep calling him James? Oh, you know what? There was a James that went to school with us with that name, or with me. That's right. We went to different high schools. Jarrell Adams, who's done virtually nothing in his 3-year career. So I can see why people are worried about that because as a third tight end last year, Hurst had 30 catches. Our third receiver last year, Jimbo, had,
13?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at Willie Snead was our number 2 receiver, right, behind Hollywood.
So
it was
21 to
Seth Roberts.
Roberts, there you go.
So he could get more targets as a third tight end than he can as a third receiver. And almost just as many as the second receiver got, with Willie Snead getting 31 grabs, and Hayden Hurst had 30 and Boyle had 31. So while he had more targets, they ended up with the same net result. So I can see why people want to go there, but I just don't think that transition, while it may have looked a little easy by Darren, well, I guess it didn't look easy, but in the end, he got there. I don't know if I wouldn't trust Boykin to be that. And I'm still thinking he can turn into a good receiver. All right, he took a little long at Notre Dame. He took to, I think, his 4th or 5th year to do much of anything. So maybe he's just a slower learner. Now, hopefully it doesn't take 4 or 5 years. Hopefully he gets that this season. But that remains to be seen. But look, if he has a bad year this year, he can't separate, then sure. Throw him at tight end next year, because this is really a make or break year for Boykin at receiver, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, the other reason we're bringing this up is because I can't remember if you mentioned or not, but of course, Breeland,
Was waived,
Jacob Breeland was waived. And so that makes our tight end room even thinner. So people start looking around and thinking, so yeah, I think theoretically this could be a fun option, but we want to get your guys' thoughts. I mean, like Glenn said, I'm in his camp that it's definitely not going to happen this year, but I think the best way to play it is to say, well, if this year is a bust as far as gaining separation, beating DBs in one-on-one battles, catching, high pointing and things like that, maybe he can do it against the linebackers and put on some weight so he can block a little better, because everyone that defends Boykin says one thing. What do they say, Glenn?
He can block.
He can block.
So maybe he should be a tight end.
Right. Maybe he was just born for it. Maybe he can move inside. So let us know what your guys' thoughts are. Definitely an interesting concept to think about. Make sure to respond in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Make sure to take 2 seconds, hit the subscribe button, or like 0.2 seconds, and then we'll talk to you guys soon.
See you.